everyone. We are at the Gazette Mail candidate information meeting with candidates, Republican candidates from the House Delegates 38th District and 40th District. This is being live streamed and will be saved on the internet for anyone to link to at later at any time. At this point, we'll have the Gazette Mail editors and folks introduce themselves, and then we'll ask each candidate to introduce themselves and say about a 1 minute introduction as to why they're running, and then we'll do question and answer for up to an hour.
Phil Candler, State House reporter.
Kelly Merritt, opinion page editor for the Daily Mail opinion page.
I'm Brad McElhenney, co-editor of the paper, and one of the things I do is work with the Daily Mail opinion page. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm Rob Byers, I'm the co-editor.
I'm Dawn Miller, I'm the Gazette opinion page editor.
Hey, I'm Ronald Shamblin. I live in the 40th District, running for 40th District. Have a concern of how our legislature has traveled down the past couple of years, and we need to find out that whether or not we want some common sense in our legislation and not just seek an entity. And that's where I'm at as far as the reason I'm running for the race. I believe that our legislation has created some things that are going to send our state in the wrong direction.
All right, I'm Lewis Taylor. I will appear on the ballot as Lewis A. Taylor. I'm from Big Chimney, West Virginia. I'm 24 years old, and I'm running in the House for the House of Delegates in the 40th District to bring about a new generation of leadership. A lot of people say, why is a 24-year-old guy, I'm a minister of the gospel, running for the House of Delegates? Like I said, the number one reason is a new generation of leadership. I think we can grow complacent with what we have. And another reason is I support term limits. One of our main opponents, the Speaker of the House, Mr. Armstead, has held this position in our district for 16, 17 years. And I support a term limit. I'm running to support a voice for the people, to give them a choice in the election. For way too long, there has not been an adequate choice. And that's one of the main reasons I'm running. So to give the people a choice in this election in the 40th District.
Okay, before we go any further, we will point out that another incumbent or another candidate in incumbent, Mr. Tim Armstead, is not here today. Is there any other Republican candidates?
No.
No.
There are 3 Republican candidates, 1 Mountain Party, 1 Democrat.
Just now we're doing the primary for Republicans.
Yes.
My name is Bob Keller. I live in Cross Lanes, and I'm a candidate for the 38th District. Why am I running? I think that we do need new ideas. We do need the state and love her for all that she is. The delegate from the current delegate from the 38th District is not seeking re-election, so we will be looking at a new representative for the 38th District, and my goal is that the people of Cross Lanes and Taze Valley and Scott Depot decide that should be me.
And we'll point out for the record there is at least one other candidate on the
There are
Bender, and who's the other?
Nancy Reagan Foster,
Nancy Reagan Foster. That's
and
right.
there is a Democrat.
Right. Okay. Nancy Reagan Foster didn't say that she could not be here today. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate y'all coming to our forum, and appreciate your all's interest in running as a citizen.
Yes.
Start with you, Mr. Keller. And I've been asking this to pretty much at all the candidate forums. We hear a lot of talk about jobs and need to bring jobs into West Virginia and so on. My question is, well, it's always, it's great to work to bring big companies in that are going to employ more West Virginians. But what seems to be lacking, and I don't know if this is a legislative issue or a cultural issue or what, seems to be lacking in West Virginia is this entrepreneurial spirit where people feel like, I can't find a job, I'm going to create my own. Any ideas on that, or how can we further, whether it's legislative agenda, further the creation of an entrepreneurial spirit?
I have a kind of a unique perspective on this. In fact, I've actually written a plan to do just that, because a little bit about my background. I did. I grew up. Was born in West Virginia. Grew up in West Virginia. Went to college in West Virginia, and then I was part of that late '80s brain drain, if you will, and left the state. Went to graduate school and managed manufacturing plants in South Carolina. And then I did a career change and went into higher education. Well, that quickly brought me back to West Virginia. And I spent 10 years teaching at Tech. Well, you know, at some point in there, I decided, well, I want to do something different. And I wanted to stay in West Virginia. And so I created my own job just that way. Okay? And since then, I've actually, we just created our third company in West Virginia. And so I'm intimately involved with the obstacles that come from that. We have a situation in West Virginia where if Kelly, if you decided you wanted to start your own business, where do you go? What do you do? Most people that I've talked to understand first step is going to be the Secretary of State's office because we've got to get a business license. But the problem is depending on the business, you will get routed between any number of agencies. And it becomes almost a game of pinball. You go to one and they say, well, have you been, you know, if you're lucky, they say, well, have you been over to this department? No, I didn't know I needed to go there. And people say, well, don't we have a Small Business Administration? Yeah, that's a federal agency. And quite frankly, the small business owners I've talked to have not received any assistance from the small business owners or from the Small Business Administration. We also have the small business centers that we set up as a state. They are not effectual. And so one of the things that I want to do is streamline that process so that, you know, if Dawn says, hey, I want to open, I don't know, a diesel repair shop, okay, that we can say, okay, well, this is what it takes to do that, and you need to make sure that you visit the Secretary of State's office and the State Tax Department and Workforce West Virginia for workers' comp insurance, and you know, and that will walk you through that. I had a young gentleman that I spoke to last week that started a contracting business, and he said, "How does anybody start a business in West Virginia?" Because he was going here and he was going there, and then all of a sudden, you know, by the way, and of course this is a little off topic, but you know, if you're going to do business in the city, it starts all over again. And so that's one of the pillars that I think is that we need to grow from within. Our state economic development office has focused for at least the last 20 years on hooking the big fish. Okay? Now, we did hook Toyota, and that's a darn big fish. But what about the other fish? Okay? You know, a company that has 50 jobs or 100 jobs, and that we're in competition with other states and other locations. We have a lot to offer, but we're not communicating that well.
You know, this is one of the most important issues. Jobs is one of the most important issues that West Virginians are facing. And this is one, I talk about this everywhere I go, that this is important. Jobs are everything to the West Virginia economy. And I know many hardworking West Virginians, they would understand that. And I should say good paying jobs are everything to the West Virginia economy. You know, as a recent college graduate, graduated from the University of Charleston not too long ago, it's hard to find right now in the state of our economy a good paying job for recent college graduates. I'm running on a pro-job, pro-growth platform. That's where I'm running, on a pro-job, pro-growth platform. And I would agree with what this gentleman said, is that we need to grow our economy from within. We need to grow our economy from within. And you know, and I agree with many of the pro-job, pro-growth policies that the current GOP House leadership are espousing. But I do not think, this is why I'm running too, I don't think they're doing a very good job of communicating those principles of pro-growth, pro-job policies to the West Virginia citizens. And so we need to look at that. In order for the West Virginia economy to thrive, I agree with what he said, we need to grow from within. You know, we must continue to endorse strong pro-growth policies. We need to introduce, and if I'm elected, I will continue to introduce legislation that will support West Virginia jobs. Not outsourcing our jobs, but bringing jobs in here to West Virginia. You know, and good jobs, I would say this, are a key solution. Good paying jobs are a key solution to the problems that West Virginians face. Not just in the 40th district, not just in the 38th district, but around the state of West Virginia. Good paying jobs are the solution to economic poverty, to economic depravity, whatever the case may be. Good paying jobs are the key solution. It's critical that we have good paying jobs here in West Virginia. So jobs are the key, and I tell this wherever I go to the voters, when I'm speaking to 40th district voters, that the main solution for our being last in everything, being last in economic success is lack of good paying jobs. So we must work to create a friendly business environment, and I will do that if I'm elected. I will work to bring about a skilled workforce into these new created jobs, and I will support small businesses. That's where I stand on the jobs issue.
Okay. I also believe that our state is lacking in employment, but in your paper alone, you know that there are many jobs that are listed for people if they would go and look for them. I think we need to promote a little bit of activity amongst the people so that they want to have an initiative. The small business owners in the state of West Virginia do get hit hard. They need to be able to get the opportunity to come in and start the business up and not feel discouraged right off the bat. And I see that. We need to make sure that our government is able to meet the needs for everyone when they come and ask for business license, when they want to open an LLC or a company, not a corporation, but an LLC, and that's one of the wonderful things that's in our state, that you can. It gives them a sense of security that it won't be hurt personally. That the LLCs help them to separate their personal and a business. A lot of people are scared about that. I mean, you start a small business and you think, if I fail, I'm destroying everything I've got. And we need to make sure that we promote that. I'm not looking to promote you got to give them a sense of security, and that will get people out and want to create some smaller companies, smaller organizations, restaurants. But the fact of these small jobs is we got to have our industry. We need to search out some of the industry too. If we don't have and pull in some of the larger industry, because your service industry economy will not work without an industry. They won't. You have to create something and make employees that spend their money in these smaller businesses. So we need to make sure that we work all that hand in hand. We can't create small businesses without searching out the things from outside.
Mr. Shamblin, I'm going to go back to you to start this question. In your questionnaire that you filled out, you said that the right to work bill was a bad idea.
Yes.
So you're kind of breaking with your party there. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, I can. On my side here, I am a Republican. I've been a Republican straight out of high school, and I'm a Republican on core conservative values. I'm a 19-year member of Local 132 Operating Engineers. I started down the path of union labor, and I saw the pros to it. Is there problems with union activity? Yes, at times we do have. I think that the union's biggest problem is that they haven't promoted themselves to say why we're good. The reason that we're good is because we train our individuals. We keep them educated, apprenticeship programs. They get an opportunity to learn and to create the same as a college education and still be able to have pay. And to see our 50 years of creating a good, hard-working workforce that is trained and solid and drug-free, that shows up on time, the Right to Work bill is an attack on that. It creates a situation where you break down that unity and leave that individual out by himself again. And I don't believe we can't get the training. In Unified, we're able to pool our money and create a training facility. And if I'm by myself, how am I going to train myself? How am I going to be a journeyman carpenter? Or how am I going to be a certified electrician? Or me as a crane operator, how am I going to spend $10,000 to go get a crane license? Our unions do that. When we pool our money together, and that's how that works. And the Right to Work bill, it attacks that. I work in many states around us, all the surrounding states, Tennessee, Virginia, Carolinas. I work for a rental company, so I travel a lot, and I see this. And I see people that have not quite got the knowledge down. And then the backside of this is our future. The Right to Work bill allows a person to be separated, and companies don't want to invest in your future. Our unions invest in our future. We have pension plans, we have health care plans, we make sure we take care of our retirees, and so that's where I'm at on the Right to Work. I see other states taking away people's futures. Operator in the Carolinas, he'll make a decent wage. He doesn't have a pension plan. I don't plan to work till the day I die. I plan to work, retire, and be able to, live comfortably because of the 30-some years that I've worked and created a future for myself. But I'm not just creating a future for myself. I'm creating a future for the guy that's behind me, the one that retired. My part is for him, and the guy that's next coming up his part is for me. And if we're not unified and can't control and put ourselves together like that, I believe that we're going to lose out on our future.
On a related issue, what about prevailing wage? Do you support that?
No, I support bringing back the prevailing wage, and the prevailing wage is a standard. Okay, it allows the non-union contractor to get the same pay that I get. Okay, on the job just yesterday, I'm doing a bridge job, and it falls under those categories. There was a union contractor, a non-union contractor on site doing some civil work, and then me as a union crane operator. Well, those the non-union civil work guys got their carpenter scale, so it gave them an opportunity to get the same pay as what the union man did, and it also gives a level playing field for when you're doing your bidding process. They know that no matter who's there, this guy's going to get a fair wage. This guy's going to get a fair wage. And that's what this is all about. It creates tax revenue. Whether you believe it or not, 60 to 65% of every single dollar that we make makes its way back to the government. My 25% plus the 6.5% that I pay in sales tax, and then the person that's working to sell me that goods, their tax money, it goes back. So every dollar that's made in this state and that our workers makes, it creates a tax revenue, and that's what our state works off of. Both of them are very important. And the sad part about this is is the prevailing wage was created by the Republican Party, and they throwed it away. I mean, and to praise themselves the year before for reforming it, and then the next year to throw it away. Something's wrong here. I mean, we need to get an answer of why you would praise yourself in the beginning and then throw it away right after.
Sound a lot like a Democrat. I'd like to hear on right to work and prevailing wage.
Yes, sir. This is another very important issue. And I have looked into the right to work issue, and researched. And if you would have asked me this question, if it had been the beginning of this race and maybe a year prior, I would have told you that I would have endorsed probably the right to work legislation. As a Republican, I know it's uncommon and you catch a lot of flack for not supporting this legislation. But after much research, hearing from workers like my opponent, Mr. Shamblin, and other voters throughout the 40th district, I would have to, if I was in the state legislature at this very moment, I would vote against the right to work legislation. I would. I know that's not a popular stance within my party, but I'm running not for the party's interest, but for the workers' interest and for the people's interest. This is a very highly debated issue. But if I was in the legislature right now, I would have to break with my party and not stand for the right to work law.
And prevailing wage?
I would have to, as with my opponent, I would have to support prevailing wage.
Or bringing it back?
Yeah, and I know that's unpopular, and I know I'm a conservative Republican. I stand with my party, the House leadership, on many issues. I have some disagreements, and that would have to be one of them. And if you would ask me the same question, like I said, before I'd done major research and met with actual voters and talked about it, I would have supported the right to work. But you got to put the people first. So, and I have to do what's best for West Virginia. So I know that's not popular.
Well, I'm going to disagree with my two table gentlemen here, because my position is more one. I have problems with the way with the legislation that was passed. We'll start with that. But philosophically, to me, we have, as a state, granted a monopoly to the unions in certain areas. As an individual, I look and say, if I wish to pursue this particular vocation, I have no option but to join a union. I have more individual liberty in me than that. And I think that having a separate path it doesn't hurt anybody. I am not anti-union. If anything, I would say that I am pro-union, but I'm also pro-right to work. I've seen the unions work well. I've seen the unions not work well. All organizations are going to have problems. But I don't see where forcing an individual, if they wish to stay in the state of West Virginia and pursue a certain vocational path, that they must become union, really sounds un-American to me. Okay? Prevailing wage, while I understand what Mr. Shamblin has said, and I understand, prevailing wage really impacts a very small number of projects in the state of West Virginia. But it does one huge thing, and that's, as he stated, it creates in publicly funded projects, it creates a standard, okay? And while there are problems with, in my opinion, the levels on that prevailing wage schedule are way, way, way out of where the market is, I don't have a particular issue with a prevailing wage schedule. Okay.
Can I add something to that just real quick? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I think I agree with what he's saying, that the right to work, I think in theory, in philosophy, there's a sense of economic liberty, but in practice, I don't know if it's really going to work. Now, I could be wrong on that. But I think we should find, if there's possible, a bipartisan, middle of the road type priority for this. That's where I would stand if I was in the legislature. I think you can find a bipartisan solution to this, and I think the right to work in theory sounds right, sounds good. Economic freedom, liberty, which I stand for absolutely, but in practice, I'm not too sure about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think Mr. Taylor, you were the one who mentioned term limits.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to hear what the others thought about term limits, because whether you prefer to have people stay in long enough to work themselves up into a leadership position, like the speaker, for example.
Okay.
So you're pro term limits.
I am 100% pro term limits. Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Shamblin, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I believe he's right.
Okay.
Now, we're not saying that I'm not saying that an individual shouldn't stay in politics, but should you not always better yourself and go farther? Do I want to sit in the same seat for 25 years? No. If you have done your job and you're doing a good enough job, you're going to get the next seat in line. That's a term limit. If you spent 4 terms in the House and you're a good politician, then you seek the next seat in line. You seek a Senate seat, and then if you do good there, seek the governorship. It's hard to say that our state is 50th and have been sitting in a seat for 17 years.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, when you say that our state is 50th in this and 50th in this, and it was under your leadership, and we need to figure that out. If we're not making progress with the people that are there, then we need to try to figure that out. But yeah, I support term limits. I'm not going to work till I die. I mean, my term is to retire. So yeah, I support term limits.
Can I add one thing to that?
Sure.
I tell voters across the 40th district, we're running against a multi-term incumbent, established politician, career politician. I say this, I tell the voters, I'm no fan of career politicians. We either move up, move out, or get out. Just plain get out. There needs to be a choice. The people need a choice, and I support that 100%. And it's hard for career politicians to take that in and understand that, because like I said earlier, we become complacent. But move up, move out, or just plain get out, and that's where I stand on term limits.
I agree with the two of them to a point. I think that the way the system was designed to work is that, if you're elected and you do a good job and you run for re-election and the people say, absolutely, we like the work that you're doing and we're going to vote for you again. The problem comes in is that within the election process, the incumbents have a tremendous advantage, and many times one that can't be overcome in the process. They have developed contacts within the governmental structure, and they have developed contacts that provide them with campaign monies that the little guy running for the first time don't have the access to. And so the problem is the process is stacked against getting new people into the process, and I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how to fix that. But what we've done in several cases, namely at the federal level, well, we've done it at the county level too. With, for example, the county sheriffs. We've said, hey, you know, you've got these terms, and then you need to sit at least one out, okay? And so when you look at the term limits question, the easiest answer is term limits in order to stave off consolidation of power, which is what happens when you look at Washington. You've got people up there that have been returning to Washington 30, 35 years. Well, how is that reflect the government as it was designed? It doesn't. Public service was meant to be a burden. It's not something that you were supposed to make a career out of. As Mr. Shamblin mentioned, you know, if you go and you do a good job and you say, well, I want to go and do a different job. Well, that's fine. If you look and you say, you know what, I've served, I've done my civic duty, and I'm going home. Well, then that's fine as well. But some constraint in the process needs to occur.
Kind of along that subject, I'll ask a quick question and I'll follow up. But, Mr. Shamblin, you're a crane operator.
Yes, sir.
Your line of work?
Minister.
Very good.
Small business owner.
Small business owner. It's a citizen legislature.
Absolutely.
Part-time citizen, or part-time legislature. And just, you know, how's it work with your business? Let me start with you, Mr. Shamblin. Is that going to hurt your serving in this role if you're elected?
No, not at all. It's not going to hurt me. Number one, this is another wonderful thing about my union. I'll take my 60 days in my term, and I'll do my job the best of my abilities for the state of West Virginia as a legislator. I'll return to my union hall. They have all my credentials still there. I sign my list, and I go out. In the company that I work for presently, through the union, understands that. The union has able-bodied men that have certifications just like me that can take care of that position while I'm gone. And I believe that after my 60 days that I'm good enough in what I do in my profession that's not a problem.
No, it wouldn't be a problem for me at all either. And I need to clarify as a minister, I should clarify this. I'm an evangelist. So my schedule is, varies, but no, my schedule would work fine with the 60 days in the legislature. So it wouldn't be a problem. I'm about ready to take on a congregation in my district at a local church, and no, that still wouldn't be a problem.
Would you object to meeting on Sundays like Senator Unger did? You got to do what you got to do. You take on the responsibility. My church, I would have somebody fill in for me. So I don't prefer working on Sundays, of course. I remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. That's where I stand. But if I have to, and that's what the case may be, you have a responsibility to fulfill for your citizens of the district, and that's what I'll do. I think that's fair.
I control my schedule, and as far as the session's concerned, that's not going to be an issue. You know, one thing that we also have to deal with are special meetings. You've got community events that you'll be expected to participate in, and interim sessions, interim meetings. So no, participation time is not an issue.
Mr. Shamblin, you mentioned very early on common sense. You want to bring some common sense back. I assume we covered the big ones, prevailing wage and right to work. Were there other laws that that they did the last year or two that you would have done differently? Could you elaborate?
Oh yeah. And I discussed this in the radio interview. They didn't pass, and it's a good thing they didn't pass. The nuisance bills, the pooling bill. When we, as a state, desire to take something from somebody that belongs to them, and they don't want to give it away, they don't want to sell it, I consider that stealing. I mean, I'm that's common sense. That's what I mean. And the nuisance about whenever you allow people to act out and be no different than if we just said, okay, it's free reign here in town. You just do whatever you want. We can't allow that. We need to make sure that we use our common sense and say, no, that's not right. And to seek out legislation for the people and to allow them to use some of their common sense. Listen to them. They weren't listened to, and nobody listened to me. I remember thousands of people that went to the State House for their voice to get heard. Nobody listened to them. And to address one thing, I may sound like a Democrat, okay? And I'm in a union that I believe you would be very surprised at how many Republicans are in it. Okay, we're diverse. The unions are not 100% Democrat, and I'm pretty sure that no place is. And I think that I would be scared if we all had one mind that just trained it down one track. We'd never get anywhere. So that's why I'm using a little bit of my common sense when it comes to the labor. We need to look into all aspects of labor and make sure we have common sense in it. And our infrastructure. I think that we had opportunities to finish our highways and roads and stuff, and to seek out some funds, federal funds, use our state money in the right way, use some common sense. If we finish these roads and to make logistics a little bit easier on some companies to come in here and do things, I think we would get more companies in that way. When it's hard to get somewhere, you don't go there. So we need to finish those things. That's some common sense. Start using our money where we should. Seek out money and put it in the right place.
Laws you would like to see done differently?
Well, back to the point about common sense. People say, how do you describe yourself politically on the lines about your ideology? And I would say that I'm a common sense conservative. As it regards the last legislative session, there's things we're always going to agree with, and there's things we're going to disagree with. Anything in specific besides the right to work, no. I would have to stand with the House GOP leadership. I think they did a fairly decent job in introducing common sense legislation. But there's some things we're going to disagree on. But as specifics right now, no, I don't have anything in particular in mind.
One of the issues that is very close to my heart, I guess, is property owner rights. Most people have at least seen, or I know it's been covered in the Gazette, the transmission line expansion and replacement projects with AEP. As a result of that, I was, let's say, strongly encouraged to sell AEP property that had been in my family for over 150 years. Now, what was my recourse? Well, eminent domain exists and the courts exist to hear those cases. But in reality, you lose private property rights when it's deemed to be in the greater good. We talked about the pooling bill, and we have an ongoing situation in the state of West Virginia between surface rights owners and mineral rights owners. And generally, surface rights owners have not been treated fairly. And this goes back, I mean, these are systems that have been created, 80, 100 years ago, okay? And I think we need a renewed focus on individual property rights. That if you own it, you own it, or you don't. And so I think that's one of the things in some of the issues that came up. You mentioned the pooling issue, the nuisance issue. Some of the issues that came up, I think that we need to do that. And to kind of break a little bit, some of the things we're talking about, common sense and that sort of thing. We need, and the newspaper does of trying to educate the public on what's happening, because if you go and you read the title of some of these bills, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with what the crux of the bill. And so I think that as citizen delegates, part of our role needs to be the ongoing communication with our districts of what's going on and what it means to you, because that's generally not done. And so we end up having people angry at the legislature for doing this and don't understand why they're doing that. And a lot of it's because, number one, they don't understand the process, and number two, they don't understand the purpose of the legislation. So I think that some of that common sense approach is educating the voting public as well.
I'm interested still a little bit in your interest in running for the seat, a matter of motivation. The seat you're running for is open and it's for whoever may win.
Sure.
You all are running against a prominent incumbent.
Yeah.
So as you thought about filing, I wondered if you thought, well, I've been thinking about running for office for years and I'd like to make a difference, I'm interested. Or if you thought, boy, I'd really like to knock off the Speaker of the House. Or maybe a blend.
I'll go first.
Sure.
That's all right. That my main goal was to really focus on. I've always been interested in politics and government. I studied political science, studied history, government, all that good stuff, public administration. But as my interests aside, I did recognize the fact that I would be running against a multi-term incumbent who happens to be, in fact, the first Republican Speaker of the House in, 80-some years? 83 years? So yeah, definitely that came to my mind, of course. Being a first-time, candidate, that came to my mind. But I'm not running against, I'm running against the Speaker per se, but I'm running to be a voice for the people. I'm running to give the people, like I said, a choice. And that's the main reason. I'm a Republican. Somebody say, you're taking on a member of your own party. Yes, I am. And I think that's pretty brave. I think that's pretty courageous. I think that's pretty, not to self-flatter myself or anything, but I think in order to give the people a choice, and people in our district are tired of the complacency that's occurring. They're ready for a new generation of leadership. And so that's why I'm running. I'm running for a new generation of leadership, and I hope to be that voice.
I am not a career politician. Okay, I'm not. I don't
Not
plan
yet.
to be. I don't plan to be.
I don't either.
I don't plan to be. I got asked the question why I was running, and I'm running because I think that we're going in the wrong direction. Okay, it comes a point where individuals, we need to stand up. We need to stand up for what we think's right, and if we don't, and we just accept it and take it, then we're going down the road to submission. And if I think something's wrong, I need to stand up and do my part. And that's what I'm doing. I wanted to stand up and do my part. Politics has not been a passion of mine until about 3 months ago, if you understand that. And when you see our working class men and women getting hammered hard by legislation, and that's what I am. And truthfully, 80% of our people in the state of West Virginia are blue collar. They're just blue collar, working class men and women. And we need to stop the punishment. I didn't go to college and get a degree. I mean, it's in the piece that I sent to somebody. My family couldn't afford that. Whenever I came out of high school, they didn't have the means, So I chose to be a blue collar laborer. That didn't make me stupid or worth any less. So I believe that is going to give me an aspect of a value of knowledge that maybe some of the legislatures don't have right now. I think that I needed to do this. Was it discussed with other people? Yeah. Other people said, "Man, I think you got a good head on your shoulders, and you got some sense to you. You got a little common sense, and maybe we need somebody like you in there." And so I debated about it. I thought about it, and I was like, "Yeah, you're right. We need to do something." So I did. I stood up.
Can I add something to his point, if that's all right? I want to say this. It's a citizen legislature, and it takes all types. It takes the blue-collar worker, it takes the college-educated, a variety of voices in our state legislature. And, we, like I said earlier, sometimes we grow complacent with the voices we have, and that's another reason why I'm running, to give it a fresh voice.
I'd like to ask you, because actually that was my next question, and Mr. Shamblin just answered it with my next question. At 24 years old, did you ever consider running for an office?
No. That it really wasn't on my radar until the last few years. I have 2 daughters, and the oldest is 19, the youngest is 10, and I look at the struggle that I went through during a tough time in the nation's economy, and especially in West Virginia's economy, and the decisions that I had to make. And I look and I say, I'm a West Virginian. My family immigrated to West Virginia 200 years ago, and I chose after leaving West Virginia and being gone 12 years, I chose to come back, and I chose to stay. And part of that choice was to make a better West Virginia. And then as my daughters have grown up, I look and I say, what kind of state are we leaving to them? And really became motivated to say, you know what, we've got to do better than this. We've got to do better than this. I don't want my daughters to face that same decision, the decision that so many kids are facing right now, as we've lost some 5,000 people in our population in the last year. And, to say, well, if I'm going to get a good job, I guess I've got to leave. I don't want them to face that. I want them to have a robust, healthy West Virginia that they can have a wonderful life. And that's why I'm running.
Just a quick question. If you become a legislator, you serve on committees. Any particular committees that you think, boy, I could make a difference? Something you want to do?
Education.
Okay.
I spent 10 years as higher education faculty at Tech. And so I was closer to that committee and seeing the issues and seeing what that means at the end of a K through 12 education. And I encourage people, I'll tell you one big eye-opening experience, and anyone can do it, is every year they have the state social studies fair. Become a judge. You will quickly learn that education is not equal across the state. It was terribly eye-opening. We've got a situation where we have school districts that are doing a great job, and even doing a great job with whatever national measure that you want to choose. And then we have a lot of counties that are struggling. And I think that we need to, so much of what we need to do as a state is we need to do some acceptance. We need to stop and say, okay, the first place we've got to go is accepting what is, and then crafting a way forward. And so much of it, I think we haven't. We try to say, well, it's really not that bad. Well, in some cases, it really is that bad. And so education is one of them that's very near and dear to my heart.
Quick answers on committee.
I'd have to wait to see until I got there, but there's so many issues I'm passionate about, so many different areas. But probably budget, finance committee. I'm a supporter of the balanced budget, so maybe something that interests me. So, but I'd be open to my options. So,
Labor. There's quick enough for you. Labor.
You surprised us.
No, yeah, I mean, guys, I work in a rental business, and so I don't just work 100% with a union contractor, and I face, I'm out there. They're renting me as a person to people, and so I have to keep a demeanor. I have to be able to speak to them. I'm my own manager every single day. So I go out and I see every aspect of union, non-union, construction, labor, coal, industrial, chemical, road, construction, bridge work, everything. I believe I could do good in the infrastructure committee about your highways and stuff. I've seen it, been on pretty much every road in the state of West Virginia. They need a lot of work. They need a lot of work. And they need, like I said, they need finished. So yeah, those two mainly. The other ones, yeah, any committee that they deem necessary that I would set on, I would do my best job. I would seek out every ounce of knowledge that I could to make sure that I made a sound judgment. So look for the facts.
Real quickly, any thoughts on what you all would do to close the budget deficit we're looking at?
Me first?
Sure.
First thing, the severance tax, the release of that severance tax I believe was a big mistake. Estimated $170 million worth of revenue that could have stayed into our budget. I mean, it wasn't that big of an amount. It is overall, when you see that large number, you're thinking, but when it came to the increments that it was broke down to in the coal mine industry and then to the gas industry, it meant, cents on the unit, and but it meant a lot to our state, so we should have kept that in place. Try to streamline our government, wasteful spending, get rid of the wasteful spending the best that we can. And look at the PEIA. I know that people they say, here's the budget, here's PEIA. You got to understand that that's part of our budget. PEIA is a very important thing. We discussed it at our candidate meet last night. When they negotiated their wage package, PEIA was part of their wages, and So when you don't fix that, then you're taking wages away from the people, the 233,000 plus people that are covered by that. We need to make sure we take care of that. And to be able to hear the legislators say right now that simply by talking to CVS that they're going to save millions and millions of dollars. And I'm like, guys, if you could do that, why in the world wasn't somebody thinking about that 2 years ago? You know, to make sure that we're looking at every aspect of it all the way down through. So yeah, is it going to be hard? Yeah. Do I think we're going to keep a deficit for a couple of years? I'd say we are. The coal industry is dropping because of price. Our market is so stale, and then to see our country bring coal from other countries back in here whenever, you know, even though we got to pay a few more dollars, maybe we should try to push our coal a little bit before we purchase it from somewhere else. You know, we see that so much outsourcing our personal our needs for our infrastructure, and it's here. It's here. We got everything we need, and we need to try to start promoting us and using our stuff. And if we would try to open up an avenue for our power companies to convert the plants that they want to convert, Canal River plant, there's been talks and rumors about Unit 3 converting to gas to start using up some of the surplus of the gas in our gas prices. The natural gas prices might climb a little bit to where it would make the people that's holding our mineral rights, that they would open up that field, because there are individuals holding mineral rights right now, 45, 50,000 acres of mineral rights. They won't open it up. That right there create 1,000 jobs. So, and jobs is taxes. Taxes is our budget.
Like I said earlier, I support a balanced budget. Recently, I signed the Taxpayers Protection Pledge for the Americans for Tax Reform. I want to state right here up in front that I oppose tax increases. If I was in the legislature at the point in time, I would have opposed the tobacco tax increase if I was faced with that situation. But I oppose tax increases. I do not believe that's a way that we can fix the shortfall of the budget. But we need to keep our options open. I would look at cut wasteful spending. I believe our government spends like crazy, and I agree with my opponent, Mr. Shamblin, that we need to streamline our government. So that's kind of where I stand on that issue.
I agree with a lot of what both of them have said, and I'd throw something else in as well, is that you know, what do families do when they're hit with a loss of income? Okay, maybe you've got a 2-earner family and one spouse has, you know, lost a job. What do? Well, there's really only a couple of avenues, isn't it? Either you find ways to create more income, or you find ways to decrease your spending. And beyond that, you really don't have a choice. And sometimes they're hard choices, and sometimes they're painful choices, and sometimes, you know, we'll have to put things off to the future that we wanted to handle, you know, this coming year, and things of that nature. And I think that the state government really is no different. We're faced with a tremendous loss of income. Well, what are we going to do? Well, we need to scour, and like Mr. Shamblin mentioned about the PEIA and working with CVS, well, that'll save some money. And you know, and look for these ways that we can cut spending, look for projects that, well, you know, we really wish we could do next year that maybe we've got to put off 2 or 3 years. And look, again, for the spending, for the places that you can cut spending, for the places that you can shore up some income, and go about it in that fashion.
We'd like to thank y'all very much for your time and for coming here.
Thank you, sir.
Participating with us. So.
Thank you.